Yesterday, we had a great time talking about marriage, and we used the movie Fireproof as a backdrop to talk about strengthening marriages. And for those of you who weren't there yesterday, I'll give you the condensed version of what we talked about. We talked about 3 keys for fireproofing your marriage, and the first one was understanding that the heart of the problem in marriage is the problem of the heart. Many people don't understand this because the Bible says that the heart of the human problem is the problem of the human heart. God, who made our heart, knows it better than anyone else. And he says in Jeremiah chapter 17, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. And only God can cure that sinful heart. We talked about Caleb Holt, how he was on the verge of divorce, and he got all this great advice from his father. He got that Love Dare book, and he followed it, and it only made things worse. And that the turning point for this man in his marriage was not good advice. The turning point was when God got a hold of his heart at the cross and transformed it. And you and I can struggle in a marriage and run to all the counselors in town. We can buy up all the books. We can learn our spouse's love language and do the Love Dare and fill the love tank, visit Dr. Phil, Dr. Ruth, and Dr. Laura. But until we visit the only qualified soul doctor in the universe, all of that other stuff will be useless because it's a problem of the heart. We talked about how in our marriages, at any moment, we're either singing Sinatra or surrendering self. Do you know the hymn that they're singing in hell right now? I did it my way. And you know, that seems to be the natural attitude and direction that we drift towards in marriage. Separateness. Insisting on things needing to be my way. Why don't you change? And we're constantly trying to fix our spouse. Husbands trying to fix their wives and wives changing their husbands. And it doesn't work. Because there's only one person in the world who can change our spouse, and that's God. We've got to get our part right. That's hard enough. And so we talked about changing our prayer life, and instead of saying, God, give me a new wife, we ought to be praying, God, give my wife a new me. Instead of ladies saying, Lord, give me a new husband. Instead praying, Lord, give my husband a new me. And then trusting God to use you as a vessel to bring change into your home. And then we talked about waging successful war against sin that is waging a war against us and our families and our homes. And we talked about learning how to burn the bridges to our feeding grounds of sin, whatever that is. Cutting it off, cutting off access and burning the bridges to the feeding grounds, but not stopping there. Setting up an altar where you learn to love and worship and honor God and love your spouse more than your secret sin. That's what Caleb Holt did in Fireproof. Internet pornography was the sin he was addicted to. And he finally got things right with God. He looked at the enemy, he identified it, he ripped it out of the wall, took it outside, and destroyed it with a baseball bat. And then he replaced the altar where his lust once worshipped with a bouquet of roses for his wife and a note that said, I love you more. And he began pouring his time and his energy and his money into that which was beautiful and worthy of his devotion. And he became so dazzled with the love of God demonstrated for him at the cross. Even though he didn't deserve it, it helped him to overlook what he wasn't getting from his wife and be consumed with what he had received from the Lord. and love her unselfishly, regardless of her response to him. And in the movie, that ended up changing his entire marriage and his life. And then we had a time of prayer together where we prayed that these things would happen in our lives as well.